Hey everybody, James here from All American Guardian. So I want to talk a little bit about WordPress website maintenance because that's really what I do. That's what my business is maintaining websites for businesses who, one, don't have the know-how, two, just don't feel like doing it, or three, don't have the time to do it. So I can perform all these actions a little more efficiently just because I've been messing around. I shouldn't say messing around, but I've been working with WordPress for a decade now, and so I'm very familiar with the ins and outs of WordPress. I've helped manage hundreds of websites now. I've built hundreds, and so it's just something that's come second nature to me, where it may be a huge learning curve and seem very difficult for others who just aren't used to doing it. But I want to talk a little bit about what you need, just the basics of maintaining your can't even speak tonight, of maintaining your WordPress website so that at least, if you don't want to use a service like mine or you feel like you can't afford a service like mine, at least you've kind of got the basics of it. So the first thing is you need to keep everything secure as possible. In some of my other videos, I've talked about this, but basic WordPress security starts off with making sure you have a good, solid username and password combination so that you're keeping the hackers out. That's the first thing they try to do, is just like a brute force attack on your username and password to break in through your administrator login screen. And, you know, people who don't take the time to come up with a good username and password are the ones who end up calling me later on or emailing me saying, hey, my entire site has been taken over by hackers. Can you please help? And at that point, it's very difficult to help someone who has no backups of their website and their entire site's been deleted and replaced with some type of terrorist propaganda or pornography or something like that. So one is just keeping your site as secure as possible. Good username and password. Do not use the word admin or administrator or your first name for your username for your login for the administrator password, or for the administrator username and password. That's one. Number two, once you're logged in, you need to keep everything up to date. And it's been a few days since I've been in here in this dashboard. This is a dashboard for allamerican.site, which is not my real website. It's just the site where I've kind of been testing some things and using it as a demonstration website for some of the videos I've shot for you guys. So it's not a real website. It's just something I'm playing around with so that I can show you guys how to do things. But just in the past few days of me not logging in, there's already updates. There's 4 updates here total. There's a plugin update. So if I click on updates, and this is part of WordPress website maintenance, is keeping everything up to date. So we've got Ninja Forms needs to be updated, and we've got 3 themes that need to be updated. I can tell you right now, these 3 themes are all default themes that WordPress installs automatically on most WordPress installations. I'm not using them, and the best thing to do with themes that you're not using is to delete them. That's just one less thing you have to worry about, and they're free themes. I mean, you could reinstall them if you wanted to use them in the future, but most people never do, so why have them on there? That's just one extra weak link in the chain that a hacker could use to gain access to your website. So I would delete all these, and then obviously keep any of your current plugins, which I'm using Ninja Forms on this site. It's one of the form plugins that I recommend. You need to keep it up to date. The thing about these plugins is that the creators of all these plugins are all different people. So they all are on different schedules on when they're going to perform an update and release an update. So literally you could have updates to your WordPress website on a daily basis. And most people just don't have the time to log into their WordPress website on a daily basis. That's where a service like mine comes in, because I do log into my clients' websites on a daily basis, and I do make sure that everything's up to date. Nothing's ever out of date more than about 24 hours, because I log in on a daily and keep all these things up to date. So keeping all of your plugins and themes that you're using up to date. If you're not using something that's installed, just get rid of it, delete it. Um, Number three, you need to have backups of your website. Okay, at least I would say on a monthly basis. It really just depends on how often you're updating your website. If you're adding new content to your site every day, new blog posts, new pictures you're uploading, things like that, you're adding new pages, you may want to back up daily at a minimum weekly. But if your website has static content on it that you're not changing very often, maybe a couple times a year, just back it up once a month. And that way, if your site does get hacked or crashes, at least you have a backup copy. And then I would say really those three things right there are probably the biggest things as far as WordPress maintenance goes. Keeping up with your website so that it stays running properly, it doesn't crash. These plugins, besides when they're out of date, besides being a security risk, sometimes plugins when they're out of date do not mesh well with the latest version of WordPress or other newer versions of different plugins on your site, and it can cause problems. There can be some friction there, and things don't function properly on your website, or they don't render properly on a mobile device, things like that. Things that you may not even know are going on because maybe you just visit your website on your Android phone, but you don't realize that people visiting your website on an Apple iPhone are having issues because maybe there's a plugin problem. So keeping all these plugins up to date is very important from a functionality standpoint and a security standpoint. Beyond that, if you really wanted to do something extra, would be 24/7 uptime monitoring. You can do that with a service called Uptime Robot. They will monitor your website for you and send you a message if your website ever goes down. It's actually the service that I use to monitor my clients' websites. So it's very good, it works, and it's inexpensive. So pretty much that's what you need to do to keep your website up to date. That's at least the basics of it. There is a little bit more that I do. I go a little more in depth for my clients because they're paying me, and so they expect that little bit of extra oomph to keep their site secure, and that's what I provide. But on a basic level, something that you can do yourself is just making sure your site's secure with a proper username and password, keeping all your plugins and themes up to date, and then keeping a recent copy, a backup of your site in case it does crash. If you want to add something extra in there, the 24/7 uptime monitoring. That's pretty much what I do for my business, for all of my clients. In addition to that, I also do regular updates of content on the site. One of my dogs is barking. I do regular updates to content on the site if they need anything added or deleted, or they want to add a page, or maybe they just need to change their logo out, or whatever it may be. I help my clients with all those different little tasks. So if you have questions about any of this, leave comments in the section below here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. If you're already subscribed on YouTube, you can also hit the bell icon, which will notify you of any new videos I put out. I'll see you guys next time.
All American Guardian, keeping vigil watch over your business website.